Boy. Alright guys, what we have here is a banana that most of us wouldn't eat. Boo actually likes bananas a lot blacker than this, but he seems to be pretty excited about it. Let's see what he's going to do. Are you going to...
Darwinism, a theory of biological revolution by Charles Darwin, who stated that all species and organisms arise and develop through the natural selection of small inherited variations that increase the individual's ability to compete, survive, and reproduce. My name is Darwin, aka DRX, and I will be diving into my theory of evolution and going further into an analysis of whether we have some kind of relationship with these other kinds of species that have yet to evolve and to connect with, or are we all just the same but on different intelligent levels of thinking and more advanced, or are we really just the lucky individuals who have been evolved unintentionally and in reality have no idea what we are doing? Can we really call ourselves the superior species when we can be so dumb in the process? Well, let's get off them monkey bars, grab our banana, and straight into this. To look how far we've come, we need to go back in time. You know the saying, right? In order to take one step forward, you have to take 2 steps back. It's true. It's the whole point of evolution, not only physically, but in the mental and spiritual process. And I'll talk more about that later. It's important to look back on the past so you can act into a better future. Heck, that's what history is all about. But anyways, on to evolution. Gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans. These are the very primate species called the apes. They were a very primitive species holding the most advanced forms of communication. If a new ape that the other apes were not familiar with, then the elder ape had to come and see if the ape was able to stay with them. Heck, even when the elder was checking out the ape to see if he could stay, the current ape being looked at had to avoid eye contact with the elder to show respect. If they were welcome to stay, they might even be able to join the family. Gorillas move around in family groups Gorillas move around in family groups which can be as large as 40 members, and these would always be led by a dominant alpha male. Always, 99% of the time. These gorillas leading the group would be a silverback, which, can I just add, sounds badass by the way. Its posture, the way it walks around knowing it's just earned its spot on the throne. I guess what they said in Planet of the Apes is true. Apes together, strong. I'm sorry. If you haven't seen that trilogy, I highly recommend it. Andy Serkis does an amazing job with that role. Back to it. So, if the new ape was allowed in, hooray, everyone's happy, new member to the family. But if they were not allowed to stay with them, then the silverback would either tell everyone to back off or give the newcomer a warning sound to make the newcomer back off. Charles Darwin definitely believed that we come from apes, and he strongly believes that they were our previous ancestors, which I think many people like to believe, but don't really go in depth on why evolution is important. Some people just think it is what it is, and I'm here to help to try and inform you more about the concepts of evolution and more. Our society is similar towards that of the apes. If we see someone who we do not like, we might not just flat out say it, we might just keep it to ourselves. But gorillas, they can be very violent. So violent in fact, that they can even kill one of their own. Now you might be telling me, oh, DRX, that's horrible. But let me ask you this, are we so different? So what similarities can we make? What specifically can we pinpoint and relate that our ape-like ancestors do that we have taken and inherited into society? one of the things that humans naturally care about, unlike apes, humans care what other humans think. Whether that means towards how they look or what their hobbies are, we are always thinking about what the other person might think or even say towards our own interests. Surprisingly, as different as we may look towards our ancestors, shockingly is not much difference between us, despite the obvious progression in evolution. Just because we all look a bit different does not mean we cannot learn from each other. The way we communicate as well is different to that of a gorilla. If we want to communicate, we can just say, "Hey, I'm over here," and then someone else will say, "Oh, okay, buddy." But with the gorillas, they use a belt vocalization, which lets gorillas understand where each other are. If they are in a dense environment, streams can really say we are out there and we may come across similar paths along our journey. So can we really call ourselves the most social mammals on Earth? Because we have definitely taken that element from gorillas. I guess you can call it
This is history in the making!
Sorry, Manby food reference. I think it's definitely important to take notice that from these apes' point of view, you really don't need any materialistic items to make yourself happy as a person. What really makes you happy is from deep within. What really makes a person happy, or you happy, you listening to this right now, is taking out those negative thoughts and emotions. Meditating over the stress you're currently feeling and letting go, not giving a care in the current moment, and trying to improve yourself as a better person day in and day out. Even though you may not see a change right away, you're doing good things, which in the law of attraction, meaning that you'll get that same energy that you have emitted out into the world. Just before we get into the third segment of this video, I want you to take a few deep breaths with you. That literally just made no sense what I said. I want to take a few deep breaths with you. This is to help get you relaxed and transitioned calmly into the next segment. Because there was a lot we went through in the previous segment. This isn't because the next section may be triggering to some people or have any graphic content. This is just to deepen and connect within ourselves more spiritually. So if you'll be kind enough to join me. So normally, I would just talk normally and then just have my opinion, and that would just be it about the documentary. But not only would that be boring, that would also be pretty biased as well, because it's only coming from my perspective, right? So I decided to bring on one of my close friends to have a different perspective on Darwinism. How are you doing today?
Good, thank you.
Okay, that's good. I got a couple questions. Do you believe in Darwinism?
I don't believe in Darwinism, as I believe that we didn't come out of nowhere. It's only logical that we evolved from apes as we have gained the knowledge through science about similarities, and that they were here on this earth before us.
Right. Because not only do we have like similarities to them, like through DNA, but we can also see it visually. Like, look at the nose, the fingers. Like, they even have fingernails like us as well.
Exactly. Like, even physically, you can put the monkey next to a human, as Charles Darwin did, and the amount of similarities that you have through the fingers, through the body, through some people's posture, and also just the way some people's mental aspects sort of revert back to the simplicity of how monkeys think.
It just all adds up, really. There's just too many similarities for it to just be ignored, to be honest.
Exactly. For it to be a coincidence, that's just not enough. Science has explained it for us.
Right. So you said you believe in Darwinism, right? Do you have any doubts about evolution, like in the process that was made?
No, I don't have any doubts of evolution, as I believe it is the natural course of mankind and everything living. The world reflects the humans and the times we live in. We have learned to make more peace and have more understanding for others and the unknown.
Yeah, true. Because I think that in that process of evolution, we haven't forgotten about what it was like previously. Like, we haven't forgot anything about our physical aspects, or we haven't, like, there isn't any obvious changes, but it's close enough to where someone new to this world can definitely see that we have similar likes and like similar features. Do you think our ape-like ancestors, so stuff like gorillas, like apes, orangutans, stuff like that, can formally be accepted into society?
They might be accepted, but I'd say they'd be understood by us in meantime in our society as humans, because sometimes humans can be very closed-minded when it's the unknown, as you were saying.
Oh, definitely.
And then research over time is introduced, and it would be a gradual process for our ape-like ancestors to be understood, maybe even accepted by us, I think.
Done?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I believe in that too. Obviously, with the fear unknown thing, it's a very powerful aspect that we have, and obviously, it is normal to fear the unknown because, well, like, it's the unknown. But I know this because I know that they have been accepted, like, we've acknowledged them, but they're still like kept in zoos, like they're still like caged up because they're still animals. They don't really understand what like society is, or like how like formal people are outside, or like in certain places. Like, they wouldn't have that mental ability yet of how to act in certain scenarios, or like certain places. Are evolution and survival of the fittest the same thing?
Yes and no. As survival of the fittest is what allows animals and humans to adapt and overcome. But evolution is for all beings, and animals, as the ones who survive, aren't always exactly the fittest.
Because you can say something like with a butterfly, that evolves from a caterpillar to a butterfly, but you don't see it being on the top of the food chain next to the lion.
Exactly. They still survive and they still serve their purpose in terms of evolution and this earth, but they just adapt and work with their surroundings and their environments to survive.
Exactly. Do you think we're holding ourselves back from another stage of evolution, or have we already peaked as humans?
I don't think we are holding ourselves back per se, but we haven't peaked either. Physically, personally, I believe we have peaked, because that is also genetics, which science has explained to us and told us. While on the other hand, mentally, and in terms of knowledge and intelligence, we are always growing, being more informed of science, the world itself.
Yeah.
And in terms of technology, it's now the front runner of the earth and the society that we live in.
Do you believe in Darwinism?
Do I believe in Darwinism? more so than anything else, I'm not a hugely religious person. I don't believe that there's a character called God that created the earth. Right. So I would always lean more towards science, and I think that's essentially what Darwin is talking about. It makes, to me, the theory of Darwinism makes much more sense than anything else that I've ever heard. So I would always side with, how Darwinism saw life, and also looking at the nature of how existence evolves. We change, and there's evidence for us changing. I would say if we are similar to any other primate, then it would be the ape.
Yeah, you can definitely see like the similarities with especially like the ears and the nose, and the fingers. They've even got fingernails as well. I didn't really notice it until I watched like the documentaries. Like, oh, they've actually got fingernails and everything. It makes sense.
It's working with tools. The nature of survival, and then the humanity. You can look into an ape's eyes. They see you, man.
Yeah, they do. It's really weird. It's pretty surreal in a way.
Completely. Yeah, very much so. But yeah, I mean, that is out of, I wouldn't say I'm much more similar to an ape than I am a fish, aren't I, or a bird.
Yes, you can like strongly believe in like Darwinism then, like strongly like believe it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not like I live my life by it doesn't. It's one of those things that I accept. I just have acceptance of it. I go, like I'm an evolved mammal. My dad used to always say that we're the 92nd primate gone wrong.
Like we kind of failed in a way of like evolving.
Well, just that maybe we evolved too much. Creating business, creating commerce, driving cars, causing pollution. All of those things. He was like, we made living so much more difficult than it had to be. But
I get that.
As a result of us making it difficult, we've got so much more out of it. What we've got to start doing as a people is we need to start giving back to the planet that gave us everything. Because we are nothing without it. And the nature of and mammals and animals is that they live as part of they are symbiotic in terms of part of the world. As we need heat, we need warmth, we eat meat. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So in a way where we've been evolving and sort of making ourselves like the top person like of evolution, and of like making ourselves more acquired and equipped and comfortable on this world. We've kind of been bringing everybody else down in terms of like species and animals, like cutting down trees, like destroying wildlife, stuff like that. And in a way it's pretty selfish.
Oh, completely. We became so obsessed with the food chain and being at the top of the food chain, but then what was the alternative? That life evolves, life changes, that I'm forever interested in the nature of this planet, the fact that we've not found another planet that has what we have here. We like for essentially, for all we know, this was a complete mistake. And what we created here is a miracle. It's an absolute miracle to be marveled at. And yeah, I love life. Life intrigues me. I as much as I am not a religious person. I have faith, but my faith is in people. I believe in human beings. I believe in people.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next question is, are there some doubts you have about evolution? And now I put this here because, like with anything, like with like religion, or just like based on like someone else's opinion, there are gonna be doubts. There are gonna be doubts. So I'm wondering if you did have any doubts about like how we did evolve.
No, not really. It's not something that I question massively, and I would. I'm sure there's a lot of things which I don't know about evolution, but I believe that we keep evolving. I mean, it's science shown that we keep evolving. I think people from your generation don't get wisdom teeth, you know. I was like, no, like you don't have wisdom teeth, but I do, you know. So I think if there's anything which is considered evidence, you know, like that to me sounds like some pretty positive, obvious evidence, you know, the tail evolving out of that, you know. I think all of those things are extremely interesting, but I don't spend a lot of my time thinking about them. I accept existence for what it is. And I think
that's what you can do, really.
Precisely, Darwin. Yeah, that is all you can do, is accept existence for what it is, and there are so many evils and wrongs in the world that we have bigger fish to fry. I'm not worried about the second coming of Christ. I'm not worried about the apocalypse. I'm worried about Boris Johnson. I'm worried about people not being able to earn a living. I'm worried about increasing numbers of people with anxiety and mental health issues.
Right.
You know, I think life is for living and life's for loving. You know, and you've got to love life. You've got to love what you do. You got to love the people around you, man.
Yeah, you got to love and support just everybody around you, and just like try and help.
Yeah. And you know, we're competitive in a whole different way. Like, you know, we don't have to do the things that we do, because you know, the nature of money is something which concerns me more. That people are, I need to have more, and you don't actually need that much to live. The fact that we've got the things we do is fantastic, phenomenal stuff. But, you know, you don't need. I don't need to have a bank account that consistently has millions or billions in the case of Bezos or whatever. You know, that scares me more. Like, I don't consider that evolution. You know, us having such a focus on capitalism. I actually think that's a de-evolution. The longer society lasts, the more fair we should become. The more we should listen to one another. My friend's gran, a great woman. You know, she was a drinker, but she came out with some great stuff. And she said, you know, there's a reason why you have two of these and one of these. And I was like, that blew my mind. You know. I think people need to recognise that. Yeah, you have two of these for a reason. You have one of these for a reason. Like, you know, I don't consider myself the most important part of this narrative, whatever this narrative is. You know, in my own life, I'm here purely as a supporting character. You know, this is about how we as a society grow and build, and I think the origins of that do come from evolution. So it's not something that I've ever had to kind of have doubts about, because I am what I am, you know.
Yeah, completely agree with that. Completely. That just took the words out of my mouth. There's nothing else I could add to that. Okay. My next one is: do you think ape-like ancestors, so like monkeys, chimpanzees, gorillas, could ever formally be accepted into society?
No more than they are already. You know, I think, but maybe the most that we got forever, like formally accepting. You know, like we have to care for the planet. We have to care for the species on the planet, and we do a very poor job at that. You know. Yeah. Really and do. Because of the greed of humanity, that is a huge problem. And I don't know how we would bring apes, more into the realms of society.
I think, sorry, I think the only way that, not the only way, like the way we have is through like zoos, but that's like kind of like caging them up and not really engaging with them. Obviously, like good reason, because they're like, you never know what they're gonna do, because they're primates, they're animals, they have instincts.
Yeah. Look, I completely agree, and also I don't think everyone have anything to do with it. Do you know what I mean? I think we naturally have a thing within humanity. We go, everybody wants to be part of this. They don't want to be part of this. They're like, you want me to use a what? No, don't want to use a man. Like, have you seen the things I can do? Like, look at the place where I live. I'm living in the Amazon. What, you want me to move to London? You want me to live in Hackney? You beast, man. Like, we naturally do, and maybe all species do that. Is we think that we've got it the best, and I don't think primates would ever be interested. They'd be like, no, I don't want to go on the London Eye. No,
not even just a little bit. No.
Sorry, go on.
Not even just a little bit. Not just like a little like tour or something. Done like London Underground. I don't know.
It couldn't care less. It's like there was a great writer called Charles Bukowski, another Charles, and he said about cats, he was like, there's no, the great thing is about cats is you look at a cat and all they give back to you is, this is the way it is, like they're like, yeah, this is all right, isn't it? Like, kind of warm, you seem all right, you feed me, it's wicked,
give off that carefree vibe.
Yeah, I think human beings, and maybe we are the 92nd primate gone wrong, because we deconstruct life too much and we're greedy. Oh, we're greedy.
Oh yeah, very.
And I think that's an issue, but also we think about existence too much. We try to solve stuff too much, which is an amazing thing and a great thing, but I think it causes us a lot of strife as well. We've seen that more in society, more and more all the time. Whether it's mental health in young people, which is a massive concern of mine. Like, I didn't know about mental health when I was a teenager. I was just having a great time, Life was life, and it had highs and lows, but I always just accepted that it had peaks and troughs. I think, if life was just good all the time, then, it would stop being good, wouldn't it? You need to have the bad times to have a good time.
Yeah, the old yin yang.
Yeah, exactly. You need to know what it is to have a good time, and you only know that from having some bad times, having some indifferent times. But you're not going to wake up and have an amazing day every single day. But you can try your best.
Yeah, it's without those. Like, if you do have that bad day, it's always a positive, always to look forward to the good that's about to happen.
Without a doubt. And I think of it as we have metal, and your metal gets stronger. It starts off as tinfoil, but the more bad days you have and the more good days you have and the more highs and lows and peaks and troughs, like, you start to build up a response to it. We've got to remember, can't take it all too seriously, man. You've got to take certain things seriously, but you don't have to take a lot of the stuff which is within society seriously, because it is just stupid and it's a waste of your efforts, waste of your energy. People being, people like race, looking at multiculturalism. Like, I love living in London because I live in a society of multiculturalism, which I think is phenomenal and amazing, and I love it. Like, people being bent out of shape about people of different ethnicities, that will never make sense to me. I think that is the 92nd primate gone wrong, without a doubt. I'm just like, how can you fall out about this?
It's literally just the color at the end of the day.
It's mad. And I mean, but there's lots of great things which have come along with our cultural heritage, whether it's Irish or whether it's Jamaican or whether it's Pakistani or whether it's Indonesian. we've created all these great rituals around all this stuff, which I think is phenomenal, but I don't think there's a superior race. I think we are all exactly the same. I think we've all got the same brains.
Yeah, definitely. It's not a determination of like who's smarter or who's more skilled just based on the color of their skin, which is a completely unfair way to judge a whole group or like a whole ethnicity full of people.
It's a mad way to do it. That's mad. Like, there's something wrong with those people. Because that's like, where are you getting this information from? Like where have you got that? But it's like people being divisive and falling out about religion as well. If we look at the vast majority of religions, they're just a good set of rules to live your life by. If you look at the fundamentals, but once again, people dig too deep.
They do, because it's like back to what you were saying about always trying to figure out like the problem, like the situation, which is a good thing, but it can end up in destroying a lot of like people, including yourself.
Yeah, you can just deconstruct too much, and I think you have to protect yourself, and I think that's part of evolution as well, is understanding how to protect yourself, and especially when it comes to us living in the society that we do, where we are saturated with information all the time. Like, how do we make sense of that? How do we make peace with that? And how do you protect yourself? How do you protect yourself mentally? And a lot of it is, putting down the phone, stepping away from the game. Not, as much as you will choose to talk to certain people, and you will choose to not talk to certain people. We have to do the same thing with it's this life through a lens thing that we got too into, through visual media. But that's why I'm a media teacher as well.
Right, yeah, true. Okay. My next question. Are evolution and survival of the fittest the same thing?
No. Well, yes, and I mean at a time, but not at a time in my lifetime.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? It was like, you are what you are. It's not like I had to, and thankfully, very luckily, so I'm from a first world country. If my life was different, then yeah, I think survival of the fittest could have been an extremely key factor. But it all depends on where you're from, and there is no. I come from a world of competitiveness, and a lot of people do within the Western world. It's we want to be the best, but then we get to a point where we accept that we're not going to be the best.
Right.
But yeah, survival of the fittest is certainly something which we've seen within the millennia of society, millennia of civilization. Because otherwise we would have, essentially we would have been eaten by dinosaurs.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If it wasn't, that ice age came along, saved our ass.
Yeah, even that is part of like survival of the fittest, because that's to do with the dinosaurs and the whole ice age freezing over, and certain animals and species have to evolve to adapt to those conditions.
Yeah, without a doubt. And as like, we figured out how to get into caves and start fires, man.
That's the whole premise. That's the whole build.
Yeah. So I don't know if that about survival of the fittest, or is that just being about? But it's just about adapting to one's environment, isn't it?
Okay. My final question: do you think we are holding ourselves back from another stage of evolution, or have we already peaked as a whole, like as a society?
I don't think, I'm super jealous that you don't have wisdom teeth, because they are a pain. You know,
I've heard.
My sister had to have hers removed, but it's like root canal and all the rest of it. So yeah, in terms of that nature of evolution, like we have to find an inner peace with ourselves and each other, and stop being so competitive, and stop being so focused on money and greed and commercialism and capitalism. You know, like I wouldn't trade my life for Jeff Bezos's life. No way would I. Like, because I'm me, and my life is my life. You know, his life is his life, which is fine. But you know, I read a thing the other day, and the reason why I focus on him is because people go, yeah, wow, that'd be amazing. And it's like, but you know, we are so focused on wealth, on me having all this money, having all this stuff. But that doesn't make you happy, you know. I was listening to a podcast a while ago about people that won the lottery. None of those people, it didn't make any of them happy. It made them paranoid, made them anxious. It made them feel like they had no one in the world because all that people did was want stuff from them, you know. You know, money doesn't make you happy. Like, you've got to make yourself happy. And a lot of that comes through decisions that you make, to where you place yourself in society and where you place yourself in life, you know. And you know, in terms of evolution, like we never stop changing, man, you know. But we're changing up here every day.
Oh yeah, definitely. Every day we're like creating in mind. We're learning something new. Definitely. This is definitely the brain is definitely the most active and most evolved state within like our whole body. But going back to what you were saying, though, I do think that is pretty true, because it's crazy how like even like just a simple like form of paper can just like destroy relationships and like destroy lives, really.
Without a doubt, you know, I think it's abhorrent what the world does to itself. I think the finite, you know, I believe in working. I really enjoy working, but you know, what would I be doing? What's the alternative? You know, like life would just be so dull. You know, I love working as an educator. I love working with young people. You know, I find it's just so interesting. It's so enjoyable. But I love animating. I love creating. I love making and doing things. And I think from making and doing things, it keeps me evolving. Keeps me evolving in something that I can see, in a visceral thing. I can see how I've changed.
As someone who relates to that and likes to do that as well, is there something like prideful about creating something from your own hands and like seeing that out on display and being finished with it? And there's always something that you can see for improvement that you can add on to your next piece or your next project, and there's really like a sense of like accomplishment within that. Yeah,
definitely. I think it was Ridley Scott, and he was just like, you should change after every project that you do, every film you make. You know, that's the idea, is that you keep changing and your perception of life keeps changing and evolving, you know. But yeah, but then, you know, not to say that getting things from financial gain is just purely bad, because that can also be a very rewarding feeling as well. You know, being paid for your creativity is a hugely rewarding experience.
Definitely. Yeah. All right. Anything else to add? Anything?
This has been a pleasure. It's always been good. I think you should chat to your dad about why you called Darwin and see which parent named you.
Oh, I should. Maybe I could add that on to the documentary. That'd be interesting.
Without a doubt, that would be a well good ending to your documentary. Being like, why am I called Darwin? You know, and once again, just through everything that we've talked about as well. You know, we're talking about evolution, and we're talking about our concepts and what we think about evolution. And you know, that's something that you want to know as well, isn't it? That's something that you can find out. I think it's the ending to your documentary, Carl.
Oh, true. I'll definitely do that. Thank you.
Yeah, a pleasure, mate.
I feel like I have definitely understood the world of like Darwinism and evolution just a little bit more. It is safe for me to say that I have learned a lot throughout this journey. Other highs and other lows. And I've come to realize that apes shine in many ways like humans do. They have wants, needs, and crave love, fun, and attention just like us. And I can say that I am proud to have an amazing background of gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans, and baboons. And not only are they relatives, but they are our family.